because we're gonna make some goals and keep them this year. That's what we're gonna do, because we're gonna keep some goals because we're gonna make some goals and keep them this year. That's what we're gonna do. I am so excited. My name is Lisa Canning. I'm a speaker, author, and a coach to moms. I help overwhelmed moms pursue their personal goals and dreams while being great moms at the same time. And today we're talking about how to make, but not just make, keep goals in 2020. If you're joining me live, do me a favor and type me a hello in the chat that is live. And if you're joining me on a replay, a big warm welcome to you. I'm so happy you're here. I love goal setting because I believe that intention is everything. And that if we don't declare what we really want in life, it's just too easy to do what Michael Hyatt says, which is like just drift along through life. So if you picture a boat, right? Or if you're swimming, if you kind of just allow yourself to drift, meaning there's no engine in the boat, or you're not swimming, you're not using force to direct yourself in a direction, then it just becomes so easy to drift along with the current and you have no idea where you're going. Similar, I also really like the GPS analogy, where everyone can drive, but not everyone can drive to the correct destination without a GPS. And I just think that's brilliant. Like when you think the next time you're in a car and you don't know exactly where something is and you just try to sort of do it by memory, sure, you might get there. But if you're anything like me, let me know in the comments if you are directionally challenged, you will likely end up in Timbuktu because you will not have any kind of guidance or any kind of sense of the correct way to go. So today's video is all about how to make and keep your goals in 2020. And I want to start off just by saying what I believe a goal is and what is so misunderstood about goals. So goals can be anything that we want to set our sights on. Very typical goals in the new year revolve around losing 10 pounds, going to bed early, being on social media less, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But where I think people get things wrong is they don't realize that goals are connected to activities. That it doesn't matter what you declare to the universe. It doesn't matter how abundant I am. This is my impersonation of Hal Elrod in a presentation I saw him give at a conference I spoke at in Austin, where I was always a fan of Hal Elrod, but I became a super fan. Oh my word. And if you know his work, let me know in the comments if you have read The Miracle Morning. But the man was so funny. He gets up on stage and he's like, this is what is wrong with manifesting, right? He's like, I am abundant and I'm a millionaire and money flows to me. Like, and that is important. That's an important part. Declaring what you want, declaring who it is you want to be, and acting like that kind of person is very important. However, you don't become a millionaire by just standing there like this and saying, I'm abundant. You become a millionaire by doing actions that will make you a millionaire. And so that is what I think is the biggest thing that people misunderstand about setting goals. This is what I drill into the heads of the moms that I coach. This is what is all through my book, The Possibility Mom, that we need to take action. We need every single goal, every single dream, every single desire that we have needs to have a series of actions behind them. I am a mom of soon to be, let's see if I can do this in a classy way. Woo! I'm a mom of soon to be 8 children. I am 37 weeks pregnant. And what I have learned in being 37 weeks pregnant is that willpower, and a mother of all these other kids, willpower is simply not enough. Like, And this is why I think so many people fail, and let me know in the comments if this resonates with you, this whole feeling of like, well, I already set like a goal or whatever, and I failed at that last year, or I never set resolutions because they just don't work for me, or I'm just not the kind of person who has enough discipline to make resolutions stick, etc., etc., etc. If any of these things feel like you, let me know in the comments. And I want to challenge you big time, because I believe that everyone can achieve their dreams. And it doesn't matter how much money, it doesn't matter how much time, it doesn't matter how many children, it doesn't matter how much like energy, it doesn't matter. Like literally, I think all of those things, yes, impact our ability to go after our dreams. But what is the biggest misconception or biggest thing is that it's willpower is what's going to get you through. Well, okay, I'm going to wake up early, but I just have to really willpower my way to say yes to the alarm, when really that's not it, because willpower is a finite resource. Okay. In chapter, I want to say 8 in The Possibility Mom, I talk about how Dr. Jim Fortin is always sort of railing, or this is a big declaration of his, that we can't rely on willpower because it's finite. The willpower is powered by how much sleep we got the night before, or how much coffee we've intake, how much we weren't woken up by the baby and whatnot. You can't willpower your way to success. It just won't work. It might work for a period, but it won't work indefinitely. But what does work are habits. And this is why I think people become super cynical about goal setting, because they kind of just feel like, well, I'm not that kind of person, or I'm not disciplined, or I could never be like this. Can I just share with you? So some people, this is the feedback I sometimes get. Well, Lisa, you're a mythical unicorn, and you clearly have a cape hidden under your shirt because, you seem to be able to do it all. Can I just tell you, if you look at my Strength Finder, discipline, so Strength Finder is a test where you take 34 traits and you answer a series of questions, and then these 34 traits are ranked, what you are most inclined to what you are least inclined to. Just hazard a guess where discipline falls for me, okay? Number 34. I am not a disciplined, I am not inherently disciplined, okay? So in my natural gifting, based on this scientific quiz, at the very bottom, number 34, is the strength of discipline. I have had to learn how to develop good habits and good structures in my life in order to make me more disciplined. So I think that sometimes we become cynical because you might compare yourself to other people, or you might simply look at all your past experience of only failure, never at the success, right? And then believe that change is not possible. And what I put on my Instagram today, and it's at Lisa Canning, I'll put it right here in the cards if you want to see this post. Basically, I believe that if you want to look for what is possible in your life, if you want to dream, if you want to start anything new, if you want to do anything out of your comfort zone, the very first thing you have to do is actually believe that change is possible. And to me, this means many things, and we're going to unpack them in the moments ahead on this video. But to me, this makes me think of people like my past coaching client, Marie, who was working she works in a very high-paced, high-travel, high-impact job. Her husband, same thing. And she was like, I don't know if I can ever fit in a date night. We are both so busy. How on earth can we actually make time for each other? And one of the most beautiful stories with her is that she was able to strategize her schedule in order to have a regular date night. And that made such huge, huge changes in her marriage and her mental and her physical and her emotional health. I think of the amazing Jackie, one of my coaching clients, who has a bunch of small kids at home, who has so many beautiful talents and pursuits. And she really felt like, oh my gosh, I want to contribute to the world in my small business, but I just feel constantly torn all the time. It's not really feasible. I can't do this. And we worked together and found ways that she could be very intentional with pockets of time, and ensure that when she was on the floor playing with her kids, she wasn't distracted by work, because she knew she had these intentional pockets of time to do work later in her week. I think of people in my Facebook group who have shared with me and shared with the women in their in the Possibility Mom Success Circle on Facebook, who have shared that, you know, they've made advances in blogging, they've made advances in online businesses, they've made advances in how they interact with their kids and their available time. Like, their change is possible. I look at myself. Okay, I look at myself. And I've shared mostly on Instagram, fairly transparently. One day I will share very soon over here on YouTube the whole story of why parts of my move were so challenging. Part of it was that we lost our nanny. Part of it that was some financial challenges. And like I said, I will, make sure you subscribe, and you'll get that notification when I decide to tell that full story. I had to remind myself constantly. I have to, present tense, remind myself constantly that change is possible, and that honestly, we are the only ones who stop ourselves from living our most ideal life. Let that sink in for a moment. We are the only ones who we are the ones who can unlock absolute success, and we are the ones who can keep us and hold us back and stop us from doing what we were meant to do on this planet. I was in a hotel room recently. Why was I in a hotel room? Oh, my husband and I did a little getaway right before this baby. And I was watching it was the Today Show was on, and it was a commercial for the Salvation Army, right? And you know how at Christmas there's so many like amazing commercials that make me cry. And this one was about poverty and how it was amazing. It was just like a video showing people attending budget seminars and people attending like resume seminars, and how the Salvation Army was helping to equip people. And what they were saying was that oftentimes what stops someone from living in poverty is themselves. I'm not trying to simplify poverty, just for the record, but I just thought it was such a well done commercial where they were showing people being equipped with skills like budgeting, like job searching, like cooking, what have you. The same is true for goal setting. It sounds so simple. It is a little bit more complicated in practice, but it actually is very simple when you look at the principle behind it. We are the ones who have like the ability to transform our own lives. And I just really want to encourage you and empower you. If you are watching this, you clearly care about your personal development. You clearly care about living your most ideal life possible. And I want to help you do that. I want to help you gain clarity. By the end of this video, I want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I can do it. This is the year that I will not repeat mistakes. And if I do repeat mistakes, what's going to be hugely different about this year is that I'm going to rebound faster. I'm going to be able to adapt and adjust. And I'm going to become a version of myself that is going to surpass my wildest dreams. Okay? Are you ready? If you're ready, let me know in the comments below. I see your comments, Pat. You're amazing. Fear stops everyone. Let's just be honest. Fear stops everyone. But what I find most helpful to remember is what is on the other side of fear. We just moved our family from Toronto, Canada, where everything I knew my kids went to the same elementary school that I went to. Like, that is how long and how common and how known my aspects of my life were in Toronto. Just, and we moved completely to a different country, to a different climate, to where we don't have, that many connections, where I am still navigating healthcare. Thankfully, most of it is wrapped up, but there's still a lot of unknown, and my baby's gonna make itself known in like 3 weeks. My point is if we just let fear motivate our lives, I don't believe that has the more favorable outcome than letting possibility rule our lives. Okay? Fear keeps us comfortable, but comfortable isn't always better. And if we can open ourselves up to what is possible, what is on the other side of fear. It is why I called my book The Possibility Mom. It is why I have to remind myself of these principles all the time, especially in this crazy transition that we are in. I just think that on the other side of all that is something kind of amazing, and that we are meant to live amazing lives. And there's nothing, sinful or guilty or, whatever, like bad about wanting to live in the most abundant, authentic way possible. Because here we are. Last thing before I get into all the practicals. Last thing. Okay, maybe not, but yes, because I want to keep this succinct. I really like the heart of all the things that I do is that I really do believe that we are put on this planet for a very specific reason. I believe I've been called to help moms. You might be called to help your family. You might be called to help the students you teach at your job as a teacher. You might be called to provide amazing support in your community or in your kids' school. Whatever it is, I really believe that we all have very specific gifts that are supposed to be used. And I think we become miserable when we don't use them. Just full stop. I think we are alive and on fire when we're using them and we feel like we're in our true potential, our true purpose. And I think that is why, particularly in motherhood, why I feel so passionate about moms, because I think that we lose that. All of a sudden you pop out babies and you're like, oh, right. What happens to anything else I was doing before that I had interest in and people told me I'm good at? All of a sudden it's like, oh no, that's it. Just give up on all of that. Baloney. Like baloney. But I think it takes skills and strategy and intention to do both of those things well. Be a great mom and pursue your dreams all at the same time. So if you're ready, let's get into it. So I believe that all moms can pursue their goals and dreams and be great moms at the same time. And I believe that everyone, it doesn't matter if you have money, you don't have money, if you have childcare, you don't have childcare, if you have lots of kids like me, or you have one child, everyone can make and stick to their goals in 2020 by following 4 principles that I'm going to unpack in this video. And principle number 1 is we need to identify and then challenge our limiting beliefs. So how I was saying before how we have to believe that change is possible. I'm going to give you a very personal example. So this for me is chapter 3 in my book, Believing Change is Possible. This is raw and real. So I've been sharing over here that we went from a sort of abundance of hours of childcare to limited number of childcare. And the transition for me has been a little bit difficult. It's been a little bit difficult just sort of getting into a new habit, recalibrating, like retraining my mind, like all those kinds of things. But it's also been a little bit challenging because finding the right fit has been a little bit challenging. I kind of forgot that students, like we've been hiring a lot of students have transient schedules, all those kinds of things. So it's been a little bit challenging and it's been hard for me. And just the other day, like I'm talking 2 days ago, I was telling my husband that I was afraid about 2020 because 2019 was a time of significant success for me. And 2020, I was feeling afraid. I was like, I just don't know if like, I think 2020 is going to be a big fat flop. Can you just let that register for a second? I'm a mom. I'm a mom who wrote a book called The Possibility Mom, and I'm like, I don't think it's possible. And this has been a theme. I'm just going to be super transparent with you all. Like, this has been a theme for me for the last couple of weeks as I've been navigating some of these things. And I've had like successes, and then I've had failures, and then I've had successes, and then I've had failures. And so I'm bawling my eyes out. And I'm literally saying to him, I just don't know how I'm going to be able to do anything, like anything, without childcare. And it was so interesting. He literally, it was like a switch went off in him. And it was like I heard myself back. It was actually really annoying because he was like, okay, well, Lisa, like, is that really true? First of all, do you have no childcare? Because that's the language I was using. I don't know how I'm going to do anything without any childcare. And I was like, no, you're right. I have some childcare. It's just not what I'm used to. And then he was like, yeah, and like, do you think like it's going to be like this forever? Or do you think we will actually find like a great fit? And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, we didn't find maybe the perfect fit or the most ideal fit out the gate, but it doesn't mean that in the future that we won't find the most ideal fit. And he was like, and like, what have you accomplished in the last 3 months? I could cry just talking about it. Like, what have you accomplished in the last 3 months without the amount of childcare you were used to, but you still accomplished it? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I still accomplished a lot of things. And so I think anytime we hear the words, I could never do that because is how you identify your limiting beliefs. I can never do that because I have no childcare. Well, is that true right now, or will that be that way forever? I could never start a new business because there's so much risk involved. Well, is that true in the beginning? But then are there many people who run successful businesses like over time? Do you need to quit your full-time job immediately while you build your business? Maybe not. Like, that's how you can mitigate risk. Let me give you another example that I hear a lot. I could never exercise because I have kids at home. Well, is that really true? Like, can you pop in a video? Can you go for a walk? Like, I think it's so important that we identify limiting beliefs and really challenge them. Really say to ourselves, like, is this really true? Is this true maybe only right now? And will this be true forever? So that's the first strategy, I think, that's so important in this whole conversation, because I don't believe that we can make goals if we don't believe that change is even possible. So that's number one. Acknowledge, identify, and then challenge our limiting beliefs. And then strategy number two, I kind of already unpacked a little bit in the story with my husband. And that is remembering who you really are. And I think this one is really beautiful because I think it can be just human tendency to downplay our own achievements, or to kind of just like, oh yeah, whatever, like I did that, but like no big deal. So like I shared with you, it's been a bit of a challenging time. And I was telling my husband, like, I'm just really, feeling like a failure. I'm not exactly where I thought I was going to be at the end of this year. I thought we would have already had all this childcare stuff worked out. I thought we would have already had some of these financial things worked out. Da, 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 da. And he literally had to say to me, he was like, Lisa, can we review some of the ways that you won in 2019? And so he literally and I was just at a conference in Austin where I wrote a lot of them down as well. And it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I had an amazing year. I published The Possibility Mom. I was on the Today Show. I will link to that video up here in the cards. I purchased, closed, and moved on this incredible home that I'm currently sitting in Southwest Florida, among a whole bunch of other things. So what I'd like to do right now is make this a little bit interactive. Let me know right now in the comments. feel free to, let's revisit point one. So your limiting beliefs. What do you feel like is a one big limiting belief that's getting in the way of your success right now? And then number two that I'd love you to reflect on right now is what was a major win of 2019? So go ahead and write that in the comments and I will respond to every single one, or at least as many as I can, but I will respond. So number one, what limiting belief is holding you back right now? And number two, what was a huge win? Like just pick one massive win of 2019. So to remember who you really are, there are a couple of ways that I think you can do this. Number one is you can do this by self-assessment, obviously. So you can just dig deep within yourself and say, okay, like, how did I win? Some of the other things on my list here is that I'm pregnant with baby number 8. That's a huge win for me. That I created the second iteration of my signature program, Conquer Your Calendar. I launched a quiz. That I created some YouTube content for spouses who support a spouse with depression or mental illness. One really fun one for me was I did a lot of mindset work on food. That was like a huge one. I didn't realize what my relationship to food was and how negatively I viewed my body. And I worked with an amazing coach named Carola, who really helped me to have just a much better relationship with what I eat, number one. So not eating emotionally. Oh, just so I'll put her information in the comments, in the info below, because she just changed my life, to be honest. And that had ripple effect into other areas. So doing mindset work in the area of food ended up having just tons of overflow in how I deal with everything, like problems, emotional challenges and whatnot. I'm still very much a work in progress over here, but that was a huge win for me. And then, of course, I started homeschooling in the midst of a whole bunch of other life changes. So I don't know, like when you sit there and you do a self-assessment, when I read this at the conference I was in Austin, I was like, oh man, like, that's pretty good. Here I am feeling like a failure, and I forgot that I'm like a published author. Like, it's so important that we do this. It's so important that we have a bit of a reminder, to be honest, that you are an amazing person. Come back to this video if you forget. Come back to this video for these strategies if you forget in the future. The other way, of course, that we can do it is have someone else remind you of who you are. This is why I think it's so important that we surround ourselves with friends, with peers, with mentors who are farther along the journey than us, where we ask people in our lives, whether it be our spouses, our friends, like trusted family. Not all family will be able to do this for you, just to be very honest. But like, just find the people in your life who can remind you of who you are. And even build in like accountability and structures. I talk about in The Possibility Mom, the beauty of a mastermind and how that has been so helpful to me. I have a formal mastermind, as opposed to, you can have informal mastermind, but I have a formal mastermind. We meet every single Monday. We've been meeting for the last, I think, 5 years. It's kind of amazing. Women all over the United States. I definitely have a video in that topic that I can put for you in the cards. But having people who remind you of who you are, I think, is really important, especially when you're feeling really down. We can't see our own blind spots. This is why coaches have coaches. Like, I have a coach, I have a business coach, I have a mindset coach. Like, it's necessary. And then if you're thinking, okay, well, I don't have anyone in my life who can do this for me. Another way of self-assessment is to do something that I discovered in Daniel Harkavy and Michael Hyatt's book, Living Forward. And I share it in chapter 4 of my book, which is writing your own obituary, like casting vision to the future, to the end of your life, and realizing and thinking about what you want your life to have stood for. And that can be a really helpful way to get really in tune with what you want out of life. Let me share with you a story from my own life. I remember I've run an interior design business in Toronto, Canada for basically I think 10 years, 11 years. Anyways, and I took a program called B School by Marie Forleo. Let me know if there are any other B schoolers in the house. It's a really cool program. It's been one of my favorite business investments. And let me tell you why. It was one of my favorite business investments. So I invested in the program because I wanted to improve my interior design business. But she asks you all these very poignant questions about why you started the business and who you're doing it for. And I remember I was just like a maniac. It was late at night. I remember I had small kids, so I was working. It was a season kind of like now where I was working late at night so that I could take care of my children during the day. And I was just like, just the answers were coming and flowing and whatnot. Anyway, I was so surprised when I looked at all the answers to the responses that none of them were about interior design. Like all the questions that she was asking, like what fires you up, what keeps you up at night, what do you wish you would want the whole world to know, that all these kinds of questions, all about purpose and passion and mission, were all about motherhood. And this was about 5-ish years ago, so about halfway through my interior design business. And I just remember being like, oh my word, what is happening? Like, there's not even anything here about interior design. Like, am I supposed to quit my job? Am I supposed to I was super confused. But that was for me, that exercise of casting vision and answering these very pointed questions, like, what do I want my life to have stood for? What do I wish the entire world would know? That is how the Possibility Mom and now my speaking and coaching and appearances on the Today Show and Hallmark Home and Family, that's how all of this has come about. From really getting in touch with who I really am and then having the confidence to live that out. That last thing I just said, that's the part that's really hard. It took me about 5 years subsequent to that little activity to feel confident in my ability to bring value to the motherhood space. That's a whole other video. But yeah, that was a huge thing for me. So number one is acknowledge and articulate and challenge limiting beliefs. Number two is to remember who you really are. And you can do that through self-assessment. You can do that through other people reminding you of who you really are. You can do that through an exercise like Obituary. And then number three, and this one makes me so happy. To really vision what the best 2020 would look like for you. And like, what would that look like in all areas of your life? Your health, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, and your career. Like if you were to look, or if you don't work, like maybe call it a special project or something. What would it look like if you were just running on, what's the expression? Running on all cylinders, I think. But just like if you were crushing it and felt so good in all of those areas, what would that look like? And I'm going to take you through a couple examples of how you can do this. So number one, you can kind of just go for it. Like if this is a natural exercise to you where you can just come up with what your dreams are and what ideal would look like, feel free. But another way that I really like, and I'm going to quote him twice in two different sort of exercises, is James Whitmore. And one thing he suggests that we do is picture yourself on a stage. So fast forward to the end of 2020. Picture yourself on a stage of choice. And this can be whatever makes sense for you. This could be a homeschooling conference. This could be a business conference. This could be a like a Carnegie Hall. Like it could be anywhere. It could be the UN. And I don't think it matters if it's realistic or unrealistic. Like meaning, can you really go speak at the UN? But who knows, right? But so stage of choice. And you are speaking to an audience that is there specifically to see you and what you've learned and what you've accomplished in 2020. what are you saying to that audience? Like, what are you saying to that audience? So I want you to use an exercise like that and just dream up, really, like, what would be so thrilling for you to be sharing in this little fictional exercise. Another way that you can look at, if you're feeling like, but I don't even know what my goals are, like, I don't even know what living my most ideal life would look like in 2020. And this is also from James Wedmore. This is from a podcast that he recently shared. And it's literally answering the question, I want more of this and I want less of this. And I think, he talks about in this specific podcast, I'll link it in the info below. But he talks about how, like, kind of like the sun stays behind clouds. That what you want is actually already there. But we've got a whole bunch of clouds in front of it. So the clouds might be limiting beliefs, like I mentioned earlier. The clouds might be fear of judgment, fear of what people are going to think. The clouds could be, I'm never going to even succeed. I could never succeed at that. So why would I even bring it up? But when you ask the question of, like, what do I want less of in life? Like, it's usually really easy to say, like, oh yeah, I want to do less and less and less of these things, right? So those are some ways that I think you can come up with what would be ideal goals for 2020. And that's how I think goals should be written. Of course, there's so many, like, if you YouTube search, like, how to make goals for 2020, you're going to find videos that are like, make SMART goals, like, so make them specific, make them measurable. I'm not trying to, throw any shade at those kinds of principles around goal setting. I think those things are really important and your goals should be like that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that your goals really have to be motivated by your most ideal life. Like, your goals have to be motivated by what you want to be remembered for, the priorities that are important to you. And all of this comes out of really, like, dreaming and allowing yourself the opportunity to be open to possibility and what might be the best thing for you in 2020. So those areas, again, that I would encourage you to consider are 4 areas, but it's actually 5 things. So number 1 is health. And I break that into physical and spiritual. And you could even go a third one with mental, but I think for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to go like spiritual or physical and spiritual. You could also do mental if that's important to you. So examples of physical health goals for 2020. So if you were in the most ideal state at the end of 2020, it could be like, I weigh 135 pounds. It could be, I walk every day. It could be, I eat low carb meals every single day. It could be, I have run a marathon, for example. Examples of healthy spiritual goals. Health spiritual goals could be, I pray every single day. I journal every single day. I go to mass or I go to mass 3 times a week. I pray the rosary every day. So, just very specific things to your lifestyle and to your belief system. I practice gratitude every single day via my journaling, for example. I could probably make some of these like smarter goals, so specific, measurable, actionable, but I'm just trying to give you examples off the top of my head. Okay, so that's the first category, is health. Second category is marriage. And marriage goals could be like, I flirt with my husband every single day. I have a date night once a week with my husband. I have regular intimacy. P.S. Did you watch the live where I talk about sex and my 4-year-old walked in literally while I'm talking about sex? It was the most, like, I'm pretty composed under pressure, but that one was Oh my, that one was really interesting. So anyways, I'll put that one up for you in the cards if you are interested in that hilarious engagement. Relationship with your kids. So I have, like in 2020, I spend one-on-one time with my kids weekly. I daily put my phone away to connect with them. I do not yell regularly, those kinds of things. And then, of course, career could be so many things, or special projects. Like 2020 could be the year that you finally launch your podcast. 2020 could be the year that you consistently write a blog. 2020 might be the year that you monetize your blog, like where you make money off of some of the content that you create. 2020 could be the year that you grow your Instagram to 10,000 people, so you can have swipe up heaven. That's what my husband called it. When we hit 10,000, he was so excited. He was like, swipe up heaven. And so on and so forth. So dream up, like I said, borrow the James Wedmore example, where if you're standing on a stage and you're sharing what has happened to you, and you're just so excited and elated in all of these categories, these 4 categories: health, marriage, kids, and career. Or if you have chosen to primarily be at home, perhaps you have a special project like homeschooling, or like starting a podcast on the side, or what have you, or even organizing your home, for example, could be a special project. And then finally, not really finally, there's 2 more things, but really this is like a very important one, is that you have an activity that will make these things true. So what activity would you have to engage in daily or weekly or monthly in order for this outcome that you are sharing on this stage, this epic thing that you have launched? What is the action that you could do daily, weekly, or monthly that will actually make this true? So for example, one of my goals in 2020 for health is a daily walk. So that's pretty easy. I have to be able to then say, literally like a checkbox, I walked at 10 a.m. today, or whatever time I'm going to say. That's where, it could be helpful to be specific. Did I walk today at 10 a.m.? Check. My spiritual goal is I would like to visit as Catholics, we have a practice of visiting what's called a Blessed Sacrament chapel, or going to Mass, which is like a church service that Catholics attend. So I would like to attend either Mass or a visit to the Blessed Sacrament chapel every single day. So literally I can have on a checklist, did I visit or go to Mass Jesus today? Check. Marriage. I think my goal, I have to think about this a little bit more, but I think my goal is going to be to flirt more with my husband daily. So literally, it's a checkbox. Did I flirt intentionally with my husband today? Check. For my kids, my goal for 2020 is going to be no cell phone for 2 hours every single day. When we started homeschooling, I realized that I was using my phone a lot to help with homeschooling. And then I was also using my phone to escape a lot, because I had not, this was just a totally new experience. So I found myself more drawn, if I'm just being very honest, to things like social media and whatnot, to literally escape schooling a whole bunch of people at different age levels. So I'm going to go back to my 2 hour a day, no cell phone, aimless time, between the hours of 2:45 and 4:45. That's going to be my new block of time once we've done, schooling and all that jazz. And then finally, my career, and I'm going to have to think about this, but it's going to be something around my email list. And so there will be tactics like, did I, blankety blank, like there'll be a tactic, a very specific daily, weekly, or monthly tactic that you can literally say, check, I did it. So let's review. Number 1, identify your limiting beliefs and acknowledge them. Number 2, remember who you really are by self-assessment or someone else. Number 3, envision your best 2020 and what would be so thrilling in the areas of health, marriage, kids, and career for you to accomplish. And then number 4, what is one activity that will make each of those thrilling goals true. If you were to do them, you would not lose. Like, you could not help but win. And then finally, number 5, it's kind of sneaky. I'm pretty sure I said I had 4 off the top of this video. But to make your goals known to specific people. Some people don't like this because they say, well, the action of actually sharing your goals makes your brain think you've already accomplished them. But I actually think that's like the helpful point here. Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod, Rachel Hollis, I know she has a whole 90-day sort of program in this, where you literally write your goals out as if you've already accomplished them. So for example, I am a New York Times best-selling author. I am a present and loving mom. I am a wife who flirts with her spouse, like that kind of language, because you actually are trying to train your brain to accomplish them. And then your brain will literally look for the activities and the actions. Like it will build that pattern all the time, seeking that behavior, because that's how the brain works. So make your goals known. So whether that be in writing them out and then posting them in your house, whether that be sharing your goals with a very trusted group of people, like your partner, like your best friend, like a mastermind, like I shared, make your goals known. And that's that. That is how I think you can make and keep goals. Now, I threw in the last one. It was interesting. I was brainstorming what I wanted to share here. And the big thing that I really want to highlight is that goals have to be attached to actions. Goals have to be attached to activities. That is why I gave examples of, like, if you want a better marriage, you can't just be like, I want to be a more present wife. It's like, did I say something flirty to my spouse every day? Or I want to be a less distracted mother. I don't want to be on my phone all the time. Okay, so then the action attached to that is, did I put away my phone every day from the hours of 2:45 to 4:45? Like, that's how specific and intentional it can be. In my signature program, Conquer Your Calendar, I literally teach something called a scoreboard that I borrowed from the 4 Disciplines of Execution. Another really, really amazing book in terms of behavior and tracking your behavior. And I think this is so important that you have an action. Some goals might require several actions, but to have one action that you remember that becomes your do or die, non-negotiable. And then that 5th one that I mentioned on accountability, that is also in my life where I have seen the most progress happen. And I recently ran a challenge in my Conquer Your Calendar group of students for them to, if they had not completed the course yet, because let me know if you're also guilty of this, you buy online courses, but then you don't really finish them, where it was like a finish it kind of challenge. Like, you've got to finish Conquer Your Calendar before the end of the year, and there was incentives and all these things, and it was so cool to see people cheer each other on, and the power of momentum. Even just like the Facebook algorithm, I hate to say it, but when you see in your feed as you're just sort of scrolling and distracting yourself, but then you see people like making progress on their goals, that can be hugely, hugely, hugely motivating and helpful. And I have made the most progress on my life when I have invested in coaching. So meaning I didn't just buy a program where you kind of had to take it at your own leisure. I have made the most progress when part of that investment included personal coaching, whether it be one-on-one and whether it be group. So here's what I want to do for you right now. Are you ready? Are you ready? I have a challenge, and it's 100% like for your benefit. And I just want you to win. And so what I've decided to do is offer a 100% free 31-day challenge in my Facebook group, and essentially is going to be covering what I've talked about in this video. So the areas of health, marriage, kids, and career. We are going to set intentions for all of those. We are going to every single day write out those intentions. And the big thing that I think is what's different about mine, and it borrows from everybody, right? So I'm borrowing a little bit from I'm borrowing the wisdom of Hal Elrod here, and mainly Hal Elrod, to be honest, in the Miracle Morning. But it's going to include a bedtime, committing to a bedtime, picking and committing then to a rising hour, and then writing out all the goals that you're making for health, marriage, kids, and career, and then using that time that you've woken up. And by the way, it's got to be before kids. It's for moms, by the way. You're welcome to join us, I guess, if you get. But to be honest, it is very much tailored to moms. Your wake up time has to be before your kids get up, and you're going to pick one of those goals to focus on in January 2020 for 31 days, and you're going to accomplish that goal, that one action, between the hours of, for example, 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. every single day. So let me recap. My 31-day challenge starts January 1st. It starts in my Facebook group, the Possibility Mom Success Circle on Facebook. I will put the link below in the info. All you have to do is join it. And the very first thing, all the information is going to be there. I haven't posted it yet, but it'll all be there. And the very first thing you need to decide is what time you're going to go to bed. Then you need to decide what time you're going to wake up at. And it has to be at least an hour before your kids wake up. And then you need to write out your goals for 2020 and commit to one that you are going to do between the hours of like, for example, in my case, I still haven't really thought about this, but I think it's going to be between, I'm waking up, I think I'm waking up at 5:45, I think is what I'm going to have to do to make this work for my family. So between the hours for me, 5:45 and 6:45, I'm picking one goal from that list, and that's what I'm going to do during that time. So for example, for me, I think it's going to be a daily walk and daily prayer. Like, I think those are going to be my things. So the goal of this 31-day challenge, but I haven't decided yet. I might think about this a little bit more, and maybe I might focus on my email list, for example. But the goal is that in this 31 days, you're committed to this one activity. All the other activities you're going to do on your own, but you're going to commit to one, and you are going to, like, this is going to be your do or die goal. Like, this is the one that you will not give up on. You're not going to like scrimp on. You're not going to be like, oh no, I'm too tired to do that, because you're going to be surrounded by a whole bunch of other moms who are going to be doing the exact same thing. So at first I was going to make everybody get up at the same time, but then I realized, I've got moms all over the world in different time zones, so that's not going to work. So you're going to pick your own go to bed time. You're going to pick your own wake up time. But what I am going to get you to do is check in and say, I did it. I did an hour on my, whatever it is you want to do, goal. And we are going to motivate the heck out of each other. I'm going to show up in this group every single day live. That's what I've decided to do. My commitment to this whole activity is showing up every single day to check in, answer questions, see how you're doing. I'm going to call out and affirm people who are showing up and doing the work. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a Lisa Canning party if there wasn't a competition. I have competition in my Strength Finder top 10, if I'm not mistaken. So I love competition that is around achievement. And it's all around self-achievement. So, don't worry about that. It's not, whatever. This is not, yes, you are competing against each other, but really not really. Everybody wins. But there will be specific like prizes and things that you can earn, and all that kind of jazz as we go through this together. So if this sounds interesting to you, if you want 2020 to be just the best thing ever, if you want to not repeat mistakes of 2019, if you want to just crush it and make 2020 the year that you are not crying in the pantry or having minivan meltdowns, I can't promise that they won't happen, but I can promise that they'll be less, and I can promise that you will have the skills to get through those things faster. And here is what I need to remind myself of, okay? And I have not done this visually, but we're doing it now. So if you go to the Possibility Mom and you go to page 58 and 59, 60, 58, 59, 60, I write out what my most ideal life is. So I did more of the like, not just the 1 year, but looking forward several years. And I want to share with you the location aspect on page 60. And I just want to share with you what happens when we set intentions, when we set goals, and then we show up and do the work to make them true. So I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to show you. And I want to remind you that I wrote this book. I can show you the year. Let me show you. Okay, I can't really show you. It's copyright 2019, but if you can understand the way that books are written, like the first draft of this became a draft in like 2.5 years ago, literally. So like 2017, I want to say, is when I actually submitted like the first draft. So I was writing it anyway, it took a long time is what I'm trying to say. But this was written like 2 years ago. Our primary residence is in a small town in Southwest Florida, across from a lake and with a view of the church. Our home is full of love, joy, and life. It is furnished with a bit of a beach influence and is light and bright. And we make regular trips to the ocean. Now I'm going to show you, okay? So I'm going to read the same words, but I'm going to show you what I'm sitting in and why I'm so passionate about this, because I wrote this 2 years ago. And then we did the work in order to get here. And so if you feel like I can't pursue my dreams, or I can't, do it, I have not enough money, not enough time, I've got, I've got too many children, or I have too young children, whatever it is, I want you to borrow from my experience and from my confidence that if I can do this, you can do this too. And it honestly is about setting an intention and then doing the work. So our primary residence is in a small town in Southwest Florida. I can't prove that to you physically, but you'll have to just take my word from it. Across from a lake and with a view of the church. The church is just over there. I'm going to show you now how our home is full of joy, love, and light. Now, my children aren't home, so I can't really show you them, but lots of food. To me, that's joy, love, and light. Lots of kids there pictured. And lots of light. I'm losing my light right now because it's approaching sunset. But one of my favorite things about this house is just how lit it is. It's furnished with a bit of a beach influence. So like, oh my gosh, my kitchen is so dirty. But a little bit of a beach influence, a little bit of a beach influence, a little bit of a beach influence, and is light and bright. We make regular trips to the ocean. So you'll have to take my word for that. But if you follow me on my Instagram, you know that it's kind of a goal of mine to make it there once a week. I mean, for me, especially because I sit right here in this office and I do these lives and I do the majority of my work. When I read our primary residence is in a small town in Southwest Florida, across from a lake with a view of the church, and I look out beyond my computer, and that is what I see. That view and that feeling of like, it's possible to follow your dreams. I never thought it would, there was a time when I was like, there's no way, how are we supposed to get a whole family of Canadians? to the United States to live here full time, and how are we supposed to like afford it, and all these things. But we're here, was it an easy journey? No. Were there many things that were like surprises, and like there were a lot of things that were really difficult to navigate, but we did it. We did it because I would say that like one of the things that has been the gift of a bunch of children, welcoming them at any time. One of the things has been a gift of mental illness in my husband and learning how to navigate that. One of the gifts of being an entrepreneur, where there's a lot of risk and where you don't always know, like, is it going to all work out? Like, it's not about, a check does not show up in my bank account the same way it does for someone who, expects a certain amount every single week or every 2 weeks or whatever. Like, but one of the biggest gifts of all of that is this sort of like this confidence, or this trusting that when you set an intention and do the work and allow God into your plans too, for me as a Catholic, that's really important. Incredible things can happen. And if they can happen for me, they can happen for you too. And that is why I'm so passionate about this topic, and why I just want all moms to win. And your goals will be very different than mine. Your goals might be more focused on homeschooling your children with excellence. Your goals might be focused on being able to get through a week and put the laundry away every single time you do laundry. Your goals might be focused on making your first $500 in your business, or getting your very first customer. Or maybe your goals are huge and they are to, 10x your income and 10x your audience and 10x your email list, whatever they are. You can do it. You can do it with the right strategy, with the right skills, with the right people around you to show you and fill in the gaps maybe where you do not have knowledge. Like, we are the ones who can unlock our potential. No one else will do that. No one else will unlock your potential for you. So if you like this video, I'd love for you to give it a big thumbs up. I'd love for you to share it with a friend. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments like what really hit you, and what you are most excited about in 2020. And so I'd love for you to join me if you're interested in my Facebook challenge. Maybe just put in the comments, I'm in. Like, I am in. And all you got to do to join me, and the information will be posted in the group probably tomorrow. Realistically, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it tonight, but tomorrow for sure. You just have to join the Possibility Mom Success Circle, and I'll put that link in the info bar below. Alrighty, guys, this is a long one. I don't think I've ever gone an hour on a live on YouTube over here, but I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful for every single one of you. Some of you have followed me from my marriage under construction interior design days in Toronto, Canada. Some of you I know have come alongside in your own journey with mental illness and Bell Let's Talk. And then I know many of you have come alongside because of my book, The Possibility Mom. I used to call it my 7th baby, but then we got pregnant with baby number 7 while still writing this. And then I used to call it my 8th baby, but I'm pregnant currently with number 8. So it's its own entity now, The Possibility Mom. And I'm really, really grateful for you. So maybe let me know in the comments too. I'd love to know how we got connected. Did you get to connect to me on here because of any of those 3? So were you following me from interior design? Were you following me because of mental illness in marriage? Or did you catch wind of me somehow in, maybe you saw me on a television show, or you watched a YouTube video on motherhood, whatever it is. I'd love to know how we got connected. And then I'd love to connect with you in an even more personal way in my Facebook group, the Possibility Mom Success Circle. You will find there are some pretty cool moms. And for 31 days, you're going to make progress on at least one That's the guarantee, is that if you get up, if you go to bed early and you get up and you use that, hour before your kids wake up to work on the one, I promise you it's going to just, it's going to trickle effect big ways, big time, big time, big time, big time. All right. I could hang out with you guys all day, but I best get back to my kids. Probably feed them some dinner. It's 5 p.m. Eastern here. They're probably hungry. But again, I'm so, so grateful for you, and cheers to designing your just most beautiful, awesome life.